Hey, what is up guys? It's Metagames GX here, and I wanted to make a small video on some test hands with this deck so that you guys get to know exactly how to play branded this format. And I usually do this like basically every new format with the new cards especially, so we're going to do test hands. This is going to be for my 42 card deck list, so if you want to go check out the deck profile, it is over there. So this is just one of those hands that, yes, it's going to be a bit of a mid-range hand, but we actually still get exactly where we want to go with this kind of hand, which is kind of interesting. I think going first and going second, this hand's actually quite fine. I think going first, obviously, you don't get the full combo, but you do get to draw, and then you can also possibly lock with a Retribution, which is kind of what I like about this 40 card build, is that even if you do have, you know, some of these hands that you don't get the full combo, you still have like really good non-engine. And then our 6th card would be a Tri-Brigade Mercourier, which is definitely not a good top deck, unfortunately. But I think, like, for instance, how I'd play out this hand is you would go Fusion Deployment, and obviously if you get Fualost or something, you could draw yourself after one draw so you can continue to play the game if you'd like, or you could even just give your opponent 2 draws. But we'll go out for the Cartesia, and then we can chain the Cartesia effect to then fuse. In this instance, I mean, honestly, we could use the Ido here, fuse it off with the Albaz, and then make an Lubellion, and then just go for Chainlink 1 Lubellion to discard for cost the branded Retribution, and then we could spin back the Albaz plus the Cartesia, and this is just a really simple lock. Essentially, it's going to put your opponent on better habit. Although you don't have any monsters in graveyard, so you kind of have to let your opponent play into it, or you wait for yourself to use your droll, and then essentially you can keep putting yourself on top deck at that point. I don't know if this was the exact correct play, because also you could have just made a Grand Guignol, and Grand Guignol could have just, like, instead of doing this, we could have just gone into, once again, the Grand Guignol, and then Grand Guignol could have just sent a Albion to the graveyard while getting or keeping the Cartesia in the graveyard, and then we still have a lot of interruptions, right? Because then the Cartesia will still be in the graveyard, then an end phase, or before we go end phase, we could set the Retribution, and then go end phase into Albion the Branded Dragon, and then we could just go get the Branded in red and basically do something even better here. And then we can set the Branded in red and essentially just do the same exact thing that we were going to do before. We could go, pass to our opponent, go Branded in red, target Albaz, or we could wait for the Grand Guignol to tag out first so that we can get some more plays, get the Quem here, Quem effect, and then Quem can just send in another Albaz, I think, at this point, or a Mercourier. Really just doesn't really matter. I guess we could search. We could send the Mercourier for other reasons, but I think by doing this, we actually keep a Albaz in rotation just in case one gets banished by, like, a Bestial, and then go Branded red, target the Albaz, fuse it off with the Quem, and then go for Albion into Sanctifier. Go into Lubellion effect. Also, this is in graveyard, obviously. Discard the Ido, and then fuse back Albaz plus the Banish Quem, probably, or maybe even the Grand Guignol, whatever you want to do. And then we still end up ending on multiple interruptions plus a lock, right? And this was just like one of those half hands, right? So we can just make Sanctifier, go Sanctifier effect, and then target Cartesia and Ido, which gives us follow-up, and then we still have the Droll and Retribution. So this was actually just quite a good hand still, and shows you that you can play, like, even without resolving Brand Fusion and Branded. That's why I really like the Ido lock for that instance. So that was a pretty good hand, honestly, and once again, going second. I mean, obviously, like, Mercourier top deck wasn't ideal, but it was like a quote-unquote, like, mid-hand that actually ended up being quite good. Alright, so for the test hand number 2, we have double Luber Branded and Red Branded Lost. So, yeah, this is just one of those hands that, once again, you don't want to really get imperm past, but it might just happen. But just go normal summon a Luber, hopefully get Branded Fusion. And we have Branded Lost here, which is kind of interesting. So we can go Branded Lost and then activate Branded Fusion. Obviously, if we get Ash, we could just go Fusion Duplication. Hopefully we don't, though. And then we can just end up going Branded Fusion. But let's just say we do get Ash, right? So we can go Thrust and then Thrust out for a Fusion Duplication. And then we can pass to our opponent after we set the branded in red. And then we let our opponent play the game a little bit, get some bodies on the board that you can remove, and then go fusion duplication, banish the branded fusion. And here we're going to do something interesting. We're going to be able to go for sending Albaz plus Cartesia to make Albion. And then we can go Albion effect, chainlink 1, chainlink 2, branded loss. And then branded loss can actually just get us a Mercurier at this point. It doesn't really matter in this. Then branded loss has to get us a light spellcaster at this point. So probably just a Quem at this point, so we don't have to banish both of our Cartesias for this line. And then Albion will banish off the Cartesia very importantly, and then the Aluber on field, and then you can go out to the Grand Guignol. And then now you have Grand Guignol, chainlink 1 to send to the graveyard the Ido from your deck. And then here we have a full lock, right? We can just go for branded and red, go for Albaz, and then fuse off either Grand Guignol or Quem. I'll just fuse off the Quem. And then we can go for a lock, once again using one of our opponent's monsters plus the Ido. And then we still have like the Grand Guignol on board to just like tag out if we did that already to send another card, whether that's the Quem or not. And we have bodies on board, so yeah, it's just another just like one of those hands where we took a Luber, but and just like did something with it. It was not a bad hand going second either, right? Because we had a Luber plus Lost plus Thrust. Like these are two very, like this just breaks boards right here, right? So because the Lost forces the Thrust and the Luber gets you to something or to branded fusion, so it's pretty beautiful. Yeah, so let me know down below if you guys want to see more videos like this. If you guys want to see me like kind of do it through hand traps mainly, or if you guys want to see me like go through all the combos just like how it normally would be. All right, so we got a normal hand. We have the Bestial Sarnier, Fusion Deployment, Fallen of Albaz, Brigand's Kit, and then Branded Lost. So yeah, these cards are very good, even going second and going first. So this hand is pretty fair. We have a Bestial for like Mitsurugi or Yummy, and then our top deck would be a Fallen of Albaz, which is just really whatever at that point. But how I would play this hand going first is you would obviously just go Fusion Deployment. Hopefully you don't get Fuwalost. If you get Fuwalost, you can just summon the Albaz from the hand. Don't give them a draw. That's why I recommend there, but let's just say we don't get Fuwalost. We'll reveal the Grand Guignol from the extra deck, summon out the Cartesia and then we will be able to then go Branded Lost. Probably should have done that before we summon Cartesia, so just in case they Fuwalost, right? And then we can normal summon the Spriggan's Kit. Oh, and then we can actually do something kind of interesting here to play around Ash on Branded Fusion. So, especially if we haven't gone Fuwalost yet, we can actually go Cartesia effect to fuse off Albaz plus Cartesia, and then go for the Sanctifier. And then we can go Chainlink 1 Branded Lost. And then we can search out the Tri-Brigade Mercurier. And this also checks for Imperm, right? Because they would have just Imperm the Cartesia. And then we can just special summon the Spriggan's Kit effect to then search out the Branded Fusion. And then we have to put to the bottom of our deck the Sarnier. And then we can go Branded Fusion. And if our opponent ashes us, we can just Mercurier it. Since we have a Albaz Fusion on the board. And then we can just go, let's just say they did, right? Then we can go send Albaz plus Lubalion. And then go out for the Albion. And then go for Albion Chainlink 1 to then make a Grand Guignol with your Cartesia plus the Mercurier in the graveyard. And then go for the Grand Guignol. And then we can go Chainlink 1 Grand Guignol, Chainlink 2 Mercurier, since it was banished to search a card that mentions Fallen of Albaz. We already have Albaz in the graveyard, so at this point we can probably just go for the Shrouded Dragon. It's just pretty free at this point. We could also search out Quem to normal summon, frankly. I feel like that actually... Yeah, we'll just normal summon. Yeah, we'll actually search out the Quem because we haven't normaled. That's how we can get the other Cartesian rotation, right? And then Grand Guignol can just send the the Ido to the graveyard. And then we can just normal summon the Quem effect to send Artesia to the graveyard. And then we just have the full combo again with everything set up in the graveyard. Also, because we can just tribute over the Albion, and if you have a branded Etude at this point, you can set branded Etude. But then we can go into the end phase, go Albion effect to then get the branded in red. It doesn't really matter. It could be Retribution or branded in red if you want to play around Bestial. Retribution's pretty good, honestly, but this is fine. And then we can get the Cartesia back to hand for a discard for the Albaz in the graveyard and just pass to our opponent and then go Albion effect. And we could also actually just, first of all, go branded red. And then if we do get that, we can just fuse off the Grand Guignol plus the Albaz for Mirror Jade. And then on Mirror Jade, we can then chain the Albion after chainlink 2 Lost to then search out, or I mean to lock our opponent with Ido plus an Albaz. And then, yep, hopefully our opponent has something in the hand, because then we can discard Cartesia, fuse off Albaz for another Albion, or even Stigmata the Devouring Dragon, because this card's just like one of your best interruptions off of Albaz on your opponent's turn. So very solid overall, because you can also just use this to like spin back your one of Mercurier and then maybe even search off a Lost, right? Like if you are able to fuse again, it's just really crazy. The grind game this card actually provides for the deck. And also that was a fun line because we were able to play around Ash by making a Sanctifier, right? Which was already like a good onboard piece on the deck, right? Alright, so those were some fun test hands. That last one was actually super fun. So let's see what we get out of this. I feel like these hands have been pretty solid going first and going second. So Brand High Spirits, Kit, Deployment, Branded Fusion, Droll. So yeah, this hand's insane. Going second, I obviously have Droll, and then going first, I obviously have Droll to play around Fulos, so that's exactly what I want. In our top deck going second is Branded Red, which is actually just perfectly fine. You can set this up with my graveyard and somehow maybe getting branded in High Spirits online by getting to Lost with the Deployment Fusion line, and then I also have Kit. I can just search it out that way and get an Albaz in the graveyard with Branded Red access. To break the board, so this card can be very good in that kind of situation. I think when you hard open kind of stuff like this, it's actually kind of nice. So we can just go Fusion Deployment, and since we have the draw in hand, we can completely just play into the Fulos. Sometimes if you can't play into like if you just like get slammed to Fulos on a deployment, maybe it's not even worth it to go it. But since we have draw, we can just reveal the Grand Guignol. Let's just say they Fulos us. Okay, fantastic, right? We can then go Cartesia effect, or sorry, we can go out to Cartesia, and then we can just normal summon the Kit, and then go Kit effect. We obviously don't Droll here ourselves, because we still need to search a card. And then we can go Branded Fusion, or sorry, well, we already have Branded Fusions. We could just go for Fallen the Virtuous, I think is a pretty alright option, since it helps you dodge Imperm, and it also is a good onboard piece as well. So we can just go for spinning back the High Spirit, since that's dead at the moment. And then we can go Branded Fusion, and they are obviously going to want to get draws at this point, so we are just going to give them one more draw, so they end up only going +1. Which is fine, and then we can go for the Lubellion Albaz line, and then go for Albion the Branded Dragon. And actually, now that I'm looking at this, we really don't even have to roll if we don't want to, because we can go Chainlink 1 Albion, and then, or sorry, we don't even go Chainlink 1 Albion, because I like both of the cards in my hand, and then we can just tribute over the Albion if I want, and then we still just get like the same end board essentially, right? So we can just go for the Lubellion, and then go Lubellion effect, and go for the Branded Lost, and then we can just pass, or go to end phase by saying the Fallen and the Virtuous, and then keeping the Droll in hand, and then since we have Albion in the graveyard, go Albion effect, and then we can now get the Branded in red. And honestly, I'm still just getting everything I wanted on that last end board, and I didn't have to droll myself, because now I can just droll my opponent, which a lot of decks need to search to like break a board essentially. So I think like branded, like droll is really good against branded when they're trying to break your board. So little known facts. So, this is like a great end board piece. I like this actually more than the original idea to just like, you know, hit ourselves with our own droll, because sometimes that is like a little bit more optimal, but like Branded has such great Fualos lines. As long as you're resolving Branded Fusion, you're fine at the end of the day. And with this kind of hand, we can just like pass to our opponent, let them play the game, and then go Cartesia effect at some point to then fuse off to make a Grand Guignol, so that we can do everything that we wanted here. Go Grand Guignol effect, Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2 Lost, to then get a Mercurier to our hand if we want. But since we already have Albaz in the graveyard, we can actually just send the Ido here off of the Grand Guignol, and then we can go Chainlink 1, Branded in red to target the Albaz, and then we can obviously just fuse off the Grand Guignol with the Albaz into Sanctifier, and then go Chainlink 1 Sanctifier on summon to target the Ido plus Cartesia, and then just win the game. Basically, you have the still Fallen of the Virtuous Droll and Fallen and Mercurier, so like even if, let's just say, you got Bestialed on red, you probably still win because you still have like these. This is what I mean with having like a layered end board, and we did that under Fualos, right? Our opponent just went +1, which is totally fine with me, honestly. Alright, so let's do another test hand. We got Fualos, Ido, Branded Lost, Branded High Spirits, and Fusion Deployment. This is exactly what I mean, though, with having Branded and High Spirits. You know, being able to unbrick these like 40 card hands where you still draw Fualos, you still like amazing hand going second, right? Your opponent probably isn't going to have a Called By It or Ash. They might, but if they do, it's like whatever. Then you also top deck Droll, which isn't great, but then you can draw a Droll off of Fualos or something, if that's like and then eventually draw them if you really want to. But like obviously just getting more card advantage is always good. With Branded, you're mostly drawing breakers, except for the Droll, but yeah, no, this hand was very solid, right? Because in draw phase, we can just go High Spirits, reveal, it's either Ido or Fualos. I think it's probably Fualos, because we just get an Albaz rotation in play, Albaz Fusion, and then go for Kit. Or sorry, we already, yeah, go for Kit. And then after we get the kit, we can go into the main phase, go activate Branded Lost, activate Fusion Deployment, go for the Cartesia. This is one of those lines that is a little bit annoying into Fualos, I won't lie, but if you get Fualos, it's just like you already have the Ido in hand, so it's kind of easy. And then we can go normal summon Kit, hit effect, search out the Branded Fusion, and then put back the Ido, the bottom, and then go Branded Fusion. And if obviously we get Ash, we can just go Cartesia, make Grand Guignol, and then go for either send Albion or Titanclad to connect the Renbrum, which isn't bad. But if we don't get Ash, we can just go for our standard line here of Albaz plus Lubellion, and then go for Albion. The Lubellion isn't really consequential, honestly. We could probably just send Cartesia instead, honestly, just to have like another in rotation here, and then go for Albion effect to then Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, Branded Lost. Branded Lost is going to get us something here. We need another Albaz, so I think we can just search the Shrouded Dragon and then go for banishing Albaz plus the kit, and then go for a and then we can go for the Lubellion, and then go Chainlink 1 Lubellion, discarding the Shrouded, and then spin back itself plus the Albaz that's banished for the Mirror Jade, and then we can go Cartesia effect to fuse off the Albion plus herself, which is why we really didn't have to go for the Lubellion there. To go for the Grand Guignol, and then we can go Grand Guignol effect to just send here the Ido, since we already have the Albaz in the graveyard because of Shrouded. We can just go Shrouded effect to go for Albaz in graveyard and put this to the bottom. And yeah, we have a full graveyard, right? Because then we can go end phase, go for Cartesia to hand, and then Albion effect to go for Branded in red. We can also go technically for if we know what deck we're on, we can just go for Fallen in the Virtuous, because then we can just run Brum and summon Sanctifier, but I think this is fine, and then we can obviously just, in draw phase, just go for Branded in red, target the Albaz. There's no reason not to do this in draw phase, banish them off, because you aren't losing to Imperm, and then Chainlink 1, Branded Lost, Chainlink 2 Albion, target the Ido plus Cartesia, so we can have even more follow-up since we run double Guignol, and then we can search out the Mercurier, and yeah. So, lots of locking with this build for sure, but that's just because you need it for this format. It's just so good for Fuelos. If you're still complaining about locking, please just, like, get a life. Like, there are so many, like, in terms of, like, Branded, people are very specific. They're like, oh, Branded's only, like every deck in the of the last year has been doing FTK bullshit. It's like, but when Branded does it, oh, all hell breaks loose, you know? So new test hand. Let's do it. High Spirits, Aluber, Mercurier, Quem, Aluber, top deck Branded Fusion. So this is one of those going first hands, of course. So I think, like, it's not really that optimal, so we're just gonna get a new hand. Dreams of you and me. Alright. Alright, so more test hands. Let's do this. Future Chris here. Albaz, Thrust, Aluber, Droll. I should cut an Aluber. Top deck Fuelos. Honestly, this is pretty good into certain matchups. I think, like, top deck Fuelos is never bad into Yummy or Draco Tal. And then Droll obviously takes care of that Yummy matchup, and this just ends up being one of these High Spirits lines where you can just go Aluber. You kind of just only lose to Imperm here, but if you clear the Imperm checkpoint, Thrust plus Droll, I think, makes your onboard extremely good. So let's just say we pass the Imperm checkpoint. We can go for the High Spirits. This is why you have to run Kit, in my opinion. If you get Drolled, you get Drolled, but I think, like, you can play around that because of, you can chain the Thrust to the Droll and then search out Cartesia, and that lets you keep playing the game. So we can chain the Droll, or sorry, the High Spirits. We don't care about Droll at the moment. Let's pretend it's not happening at the moment. And then we can send the, I think we want the Titaniclad here. So we're going to get Albion access anyway. And then ways to stand still. Alright, so we can get the Kit here. We need a Starlight Kit. And then we can go Kit Effect, Special Summon, Kit Effect to search. Then we can get the Branded Fusion. And then we can go Branded Fusion. And once again, we're insulated through Ash pretty well and Fuelos because of Droll. And then go Branded Fusion. Send the Albaz plus a, it's either Cartesia or Albion, but we're going to get... Really, it's actually a tough decision here, to be honest, because I think we could go for our standard line, but this actually gets us more, in my opinion. So we can send Cartesia because we aren't going to have both elsewise. So we can go for the Albion. I've been actually, like, trying out this line lately. It's like a newer line I never really did in the past, so you guys have to let me know if it's good or not. So Chainlink 1 Albion, banish the Kit plus the Cartesia in the graveyard. And then we can go out to the Granganol, and then Granganol effect to then send the Lubellion, and then we can tribute over the Albion for the Lubellion, and then we can go Lubellion effect for Branded Lost, or Branded Etude if you end up playing that. And then we end up ending on full graveyard, right? So we go end phase, go Titan Cloud effect to then special summon out the Quem from the deck. No reason really to get the Albaz, and then go Quem effect to send the Cartesia that we no longer have in rotation. but now we have also an Albaz, right? So like if we did Mirror Jade, we didn't end on Albaz plus Cartesia, but I want both in graveyard. And then we can go Albion effect to then search out the branded in red. And here we could actually just go branded in red effect to then get some extra plays. So we can go branded in red to summon out or get the Albaz. Albaz fuse off for itself plus probably the Aluber at this point, right? And then go for Lubellion, Chainlink 1, Lubellion, Chainlink 2, Branded Loss, and then Lubellion can just discard the Fuelos, and then Chainlink 3 Quem target the Cartesia, special summon it, and then we can search out Albaz from the Branded Loss, so we still have that in rotation for the Cartesia, and then fuse back the Lubellion plus the... Oh yeah, I love this line. This line's so much better than what it was. So you get like full branded combo this way, right? And then you can just pass to your opponent, and this is your end board, right? So you can, the whole world is yours. So you can let your opponent play the game. And then you can go, okay, Mirror Jade effect, send for cost. Also, we still have Albaz in graveyard. I completely forgot, but it's fine because I still want Albaz for the Cartesia that we have on our board, because that basically is a branded lost, right? And now we have Renbrum plus Albaz in the graveyard, so then we can go Renbrum effect to fuse if we want. But we could also just go Cartesia effect to fuse off Granganol plus itself. It just depends on what we really want to do here, right? Like, we can lock here or not. I guess we'll just do, like, more of a fair... Because it just depends on what we are against. Because if we're in a situation where we can go, like, Renbrum effect, summon out Albaz, and then Albaz effect to, like, pitch just whatever in Aluber, and then fuse off itself into... Albion Chainlink 1, banish off whatever Guignol plus Albaz in the graveyard. And then we can go out to, whoops, Sanctifier, and then we can chain on summon of Sanctifier Cartesia to fuse off itself plus Albion. Or you can actually, no. You can fuse off itself plus Mirror Jade, so you can loop the Mirror Jade. And then go into the Granganol. And then Granganol effect to then send Ido to the graveyard. And then we can chain Sanctifier to summon Ido and Mirror Jade. One to our opponent's field, Mirror Jade to our field. And then we can go Mirror Jade effect again to banish for a second time. Then like the Dogma to get like follow-up. Also, we still have to search off a Branded Loss, so we get a Courier here, which is even better. So, tons of interruptions, right? One of those end boards that, like, making Grand Guignol off of the Albion line actually has been coming up a lot more for me, to be honest, in, like, builds like this, because that's how you, like, really extend, like, get your full combo out of the way, which is, like, what you want to see, right, in general with Branded. Instead of just, like, doing a half board that can really just get broken. Alright, let's see what this new hand has to offer. Been really happy with these hands overall, nothing really too bad. The only thing I would maybe consider for the future with this build is like maybe like less normal summons, to be honest, getting it to 40, so I always see the Fuelos. But you know, when Burst Protocol comes out, like that won't really matter, so. Alright. High Spirits, red. Oh my god, this hand's actually kind of crazy, right? Because I mean, we lose to Imperm, unfortunately. That's what sucks about this hand, frankly. But at least we play through Ash pretty well. And go in second. It's Super Poly, so we still have a pretty good chance based on the fact we can just go Lost, chain Super Poly, and then we can just like break the opponent's board and still play the game, or dodge like Imperm on Branded Opening, for instance. So it's not. That's one of those hands I'm not like terribly upset about. That was just like a Branded Fusion line, right? Plus like Branded, Red, and Dupe, which means you basically get to do whatever you want with those types of hands. Branded Loss. Alright, so this is basically the same hand, but we still have Droll, and then top deck Cartesia. So going second, this hand's just great, especially since we have Branded Loss. And then we have the Droll to stop our opponents on their turn, and then on our turn we can Droll ourselves if we need to. to prevent, like, Fuwalos. Although, like, I feel like we have such good Fuwalos lines that, like, sometimes I really don't see myself drawing myself, to be honest. It's just really a nice High Spirits bridge to have that Droll and Lockbird, right? Droll, Albaz, Thrust, Fuwalos. So, and then top deck going second. Going first, obviously, this is a brick, but we get to pass on this if we... And then hopefully Droll just gets us there, or Fuwalos. But going second, obviously, this is pretty good, because then we top deck Aluber, but we don't have a way to play through Imperm, so this hand overall isn't that great. I don't like seeing the Droll and the Fuwalos all together all the time, but it's fine. I think both of them are just such good hand traps right now. I think Droll could be potentially cut, like, for an Ash, but, like, I don't know. I'd rather have Droll than Ash there, right? Alright, so this is High Spirits Fusion deployment. This is a pretty good hand. Plus Fuwalos, which is great going second. Top deck Branded Fusion, even better going second. So with this kind of hand, you're going to play around Droll and Lockbird, so you can go in draw phase, High Spirits to then... I need to get rid of the side deck, it's in the way. Go High Spirits to then go reveal the Albaz in the hand to then send alongside it the Titanclad. And then put those to the graveyard. And since you have now an Albaz in the graveyard, you could go for the cart, but since we already have the deployment, we don't need that. We need a way to Branded Fusion. So we're going to search out the Spriggan's Kit. Actually, you know what? Instead of putting back a card, we could just go for the Granganol play to then get there, but I think this is better because we have a free discard, but also elsewise we don't. So maybe it is just Shrouded here. Actually, no, this plays around Imperm better. So yeah, we just go for the kit here. And then we can go Fusion Deployment, reveal the Cartesia. I just feel like the way that we're doing this plays around hand traps a little bit better. Although you could argue you should search Shroud instead of kit, but this way it's like I can't lose to Imperm on Cartesia, or I can't lose to Imperm on kit like I could on Imperm Cartesia. In that situation, if I search Shrouded instead of kit, so I can go kit effect to then search out. Although I will be like neg 1, so that's always the thing you have to consider with kit, if it's like worth it to like have to put back a card to the bottom, right? Or if you just want to go another line to get you to Branded Fusion, so then we can go Branded Fusion. And while I'm just like tossing my cards everywhere, that's crazy. Send the Lubellion, and then Fallen of Albaz to then go for the Albion, the Branded Dragon, and then go Albion effect to then banish the Albaz plus the kit. Keep the other Albaz in the graveyard so that you can have that for your opponent's turn, and then we can go out to the Lubellion and then use its Chain Link 1 to... Well, it depends, right? Because we could do something else here, but there isn't really a point to. I think we should fortunately discard the Brandon Red, but I think that's fine because we can send Shrouded to get it back in the end phase. Or to get back before we go end phase. And then we can fuse back Lubellion plus the Banish Albaz. And then make the Mirror Jade. And then go for Mirror Jade in the extra monster zone, and then tribute over the Albion. If no nib here, then use Lubellion's effect to activate a Branded Lost from your deck, or a Branded Etude. And then we can go Cartesia effect to fuse off itself plus the Lubellion to go for Granganol, and then Granganol effect, Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, Branded Lost. Since we have everything we need in our graveyard, we can actually just end up searching a Mercurier very easily here, in my opinion. Or just a Shrouded. I think Shrouded's better here, so we can get back the Branded in red, though, because that's like an important piece of our puzzle. And then we can also, since we have the High Spirits installation with Titanclad and Albion, we can actually just send the Idol Lock here. And now we just have a full graveyard, right? Then we can go Shrouded effect and then send for cost the Branded Retribution. And then we can go for Branded Retribution effect to banish itself to then go for Branded in red. Put itself to the bottom and draw a card. We drew a Droll. That's a wonderful top deck. And And we can set a Mysterious face down, and then go to the end phase, and then use the Titanclad effect to summon out a Quem. And the Quem here is going to send a Albaz, I think, because... Oh, we could have also just sent Retribution off the Quem, and... Well, I guess I kind of said it that way. So, then we can just send the Cartesia, use Cartesia effect to add to hand. And then we can go Red Albion effect in the graveyard to then set... or add a Branded Spell or Trap card. We can set the Fallen and the Virtuous. Thank God we can set this, because I have nothing else good to set. And that is going to be our end board, right? Branded Red, Fallen and the Virtuous, plus a Droll in hand that we drew. But this is mainly the end board off of just like Albaz plus plus High Spirits, right? Like, that's a really good end board. It's probably the best end board you can get, honestly. So yeah, this hand's pretty good, if I do say so myself. So, like, for instance, if you want to know how to play out this hand, my opinion, once again, if you have Albaz in graveyard, you don't want to, like, burn your Branded Red on it, because then you have to banish it off. And then you want to search Mercurier off a Branded Loss, so you wait for your opponent to, like, play a monster. Like, whatever, they're gonna go Dormouse effect. Then you can go Rinbrum after they've summoned off a Gold Sark, of course. And then banish the Dormouse, and then they can't come back, and then they, whatever, normal summon Chessie this time. And I'm like, okay. Whoa. I'm just tossing all my cards. We can obviously just go Rinbrum if we wanted to fuse it off, but also I think, like, you know, Fallen and the Virtuous, like, being able to pop a card is pretty good, and then also setting us up really nicely by sending a card to the graveyard that we can just get back in the end phase, like a Dogma. Although we might not want to send this off of this if we want to have a good Albaz target, but we still have other ones. And then we still have Branded and Red right, where we can just go... Okay, well, actually, no. Then we want to go Rinbrum, summon Albaz. Albaz effect, fuse off another monster. And then make an Albion. And then you can go Chainlink 1. Albion, Chainlink 2 Lost, Chainlink 3 Quem. Quem is going to summon out the Cartesia. And then we can search out off of the Lost the Mercurier. And now we can just go Cartesia effect to fuse off itself plus the Mirror Jade. And we have the Albion to cover the Mercurier. And then we can go for Granganol, and then Granganol effect. If we want to, this is really just to loop the Jade, so I guess instead of put the Albion to the graveyard with the Mirror Jade, and then make the Stapelia. And then, yeah, no, I don't know why I put Branded Red in the graveyard. And then we have a negate with Stapelia plus Tri-Brigade Mercurier. Then we could go Branded Red. We could also just, like, loop the, like, I don't know, it's just a really good unboard, right? Because we still have the red target, the Albaz, to then bring it to hand, make a Sanctifier if we want to, and then lock with the Mirror Jade. And the Ido on summon under Lost, so your opponent can't respond, very important. And then we can just banish again if your opponent sticks another body, right? Like, that's why it's important to have a ton of sends. This time we're sending... I don't even know if I'd use Mirror Jade at that point if I'm sending my Lubellion, but we're in such a winning position. Like, it's okay to set your last Albaz name if you're just, like, gonna win the game off of that Mirror Jade send, essentially. Alright. New hand. Let's get this. Fusion Deployment, Cartesia, Lost, Droll, Branded Fusion. So I'm going to do this hand as if I get ashed on it. Also going second, Saranir even better. It's really good into Mitsu. This hand basically always wins against Mitsu, I'd say. So essentially how I'd play this hand out is obviously, you can actually really bait a Fuelos here, kind of. But I would just I would just activate Branded Loss. Hopefully your opponent doesn't activate Fuelos at that point, and then go normal summon Cartesia, and then you can... if you had a monster in hand, you could chain the Cartesia, so I guess this isn't as important. You could just normal summon Cartesia, but I think this is just for special summon with Fusion Deployment, but... And then you go Branded Fusion, and then it's like, okay. And then you can go Fusion Deployment, and then you can reveal an Albaz target, and then go out to the Albaz. And then go Cartesia effect to fuse, Albaz plus herself. And then go out for the Grangwignol. And then you can go Grangwignol 1, Chainlink 2 Lost to then search out. I mean, honestly, I think that if we had a branded if we had a branded in white, I think it would be really solid here, but we don't run it. So instead we're gonna run, and remember, you could also just like go watch the deck profile if you want to see anything. But I think we can get out the Cartesia because this is pretty good here, since I will then be able to normal it anyway, or special summon out. Special it out anyways, and then off the Grand Guignol, we can just send the Albion to the graveyard. And then we can go special summon Cartesia since we have the Albaz in graveyard, and then that's an end board piece with the Droll, and then we can go end phase. Add the Cartesia to hand for a discard on top of the Droll, and then go Albion to set the branded in red, which allows us to have an end board. And this end board is actually fairly good. Like, even if we got Fuwood, we only gave him one draw, and then also, actually 2 draws technically, but then also we have Droll for the crackback, and then also branded in red, target Albaz on my opponent's turn, add it to hand. You could obviously just, it depends on what you want to do. I think here it's going to be best to like banish off the Grand Guignol, but obviously ideally you would want to use Grand Guignol effect before you go branded in red to then special summon out your second Quem that I run in this build. Or actually one of the Quems, it's not a second Quem. And then we can go Quem effect to send branded in High Spirits for the follow-up, I think. But at this point, we can also, if we want, we could just send the second Albaz, because then we have one to fuse off with branded in red and then one in the graveyard. I think that's actually probably just fine. And then we can go branded in red, target Albaz, fuse off itself, plus whatever you want to do at this point, right? Because you could just lock. I think locking is actually pretty good here, frankly. So we could just go out to the Sanctifier, Chainlink 1, branded lost to fuse, Chainlink 2, Cartesia to fuse, go into Grand Guignol, and then go search out the Mercurier, and then go Grand Guignol effect on the new chain, send the Ido, and then go Sanctifier target Ido, and then summon out Albaz or whatever, and then, you know, discard your Droll if that was useless here, and make a Mirror Jade or something like that if your opponent ended up summoning anything that you could go into, like maybe even go into the Albion into the Mirror Jade, right? Obviously, but yeah, no, this was a nice end board through hand traps, frankly. Alright, for the next test hand, let's see what we can get here. I think we're just going to do for the rest of the combos, just playing through hand traps, certain hand traps. So since we did Ash last time, technically Fuwalos too, I think I go through the same line for Fuwalos, because it's like you get 2 draws and you still end on Droll. So it's like a pretty good board, all things considered. Let's cut this deck in half for once, and then draw our 5 cards. So we can go, oh wow, this sounds pretty good. So draw Fuwalos, Kit, Aluber, and then Fallen of Albaz top deck going second, pretty good, because you can search out High Spirits pretty easily. So I think what you want to do for this kind of hand, if you get Fuwalos, it's very easy to kind of deal with it. You can just go normal summon Aluber in main phase. Hopefully, how about this? We can obviously just get impermed here, but that wouldn't, this would just be imperm pass if I didn't open this, so there's no point in doing that. Obviously, if I have another extender, that's not the case too, but we can go for, I think here, because it could be opening, but like, could also be Fallen Virtuous, frankly, or like branded in High Spirits, to be honest. I just want to get to Cartesia. So I think the best way to get to Cartesia on this, because like the High Spirits targets on in my hand aren't really that great, to be honest. And I don't have branded in white in my deck, unfortunately, which probably goes to show that I should have branded in white. We'll just end up getting the opening, because that's what gets us to Cartesia. And then we can go branded fusion. And we're going to get Fuwalos here, so I think here we just chain the opening. And then we can discard our own Fuwalos. And then go for the Quem, which is going to... So we can go for branded opening effect to then summon out the Quem. And then we can go for Quem effect. And then... or sorry, we can resolve the branded fusion, of course. And this is going to be sending Albaz plus Lubellion here, because what we can just do is go... We can just go into Albion here, give them one draw, and then on the new chain link, we can go chain link one Quem, or actually no chain links actually. Because what we can just do is tribute over the Lubellion, or sorry, the Albion for the Lubellion, and then we can go Lubellion effect to then get out the branded Lost, which then gets us to even more plays on our opponent's turn through hand traps. And then if we want to, we can also go Spriggan's Kit to extend our plays, honestly. Just depends on what we really want to do here. We have Albaz, we just need Cartesia in rotation, which means it feels like I should have went for the other. Maybe instead of going for Lubellion, we could just send the Cartesia and just see how this goes instead. Because I think it's always important to get Cartesia. It just makes your end boards way better, right? Because then we can go Cartesia effect, or sorry, Quem effect, summon Cartesia. But then we can go Kit, special summon Kit. We are playing under Fuo. It's only one draw, and then we can spin back the Droll and then get branded in red. Which I feel like this is probably a better end board. I mean, we have Droll, but it just depends. I think it depends on the matchup. Like, you go for that other board if you think Droll is worth keeping. It's not on this if it's like Draco Tau for some reason, you know, game one, and you like, I don't know, you kept it in. It's like, I think this is like a better board to like consider too. So let's see what else we can brew here. I want to get this to an hour for y'all, so we can have an hour. I love doing these hour combo guides, to be honest, because they're just doing test hands and showing you guys how to play the deck through like hand traps and just like optimal play lines. So, and showing you guys like also consistency of hands, right? Like we're counting, are these hands good going first, or are they good going second, right? Like this hand's premier. Like this is one of the best hands you can have in branded, right? You have two of the best non-engines in your deck, Thrust and Fulos. I think it's always great to see Fulos or Droll essentially most of the time. Obviously against Draco, Droll is not it, but Fulos is the premier one for that reason. But Droll is usually enough against the decks it hits, and then also Thrust just gets us right into fusion deployment if you run triple tactics talents, if you run other things like that, which I probably should be. It's also very good, but also going first, it just gets us to a way to play through Ash through fusion duplication. So I think that with this being said, you know, let's just play through Droll this time. Droll Imperm. Let's do Droll Imperm. I haven't even thought about the hand, but let's see what Droll Imperm does, because that's also kind of a common hand sometimes. So I think High Spirits play around it by sending the Fulos. Maybe that's cheating, but like that's why I like branded. You play around Droll. Like, you don't really lose to Droll in this deck unless you really try to. You can send the Renbrum since it's also a winged beast, and then we can end up searching. Depends on what we want to get here. I think Quem is solid, honestly, as an option, all things considered here, because I want to keep like my cards. It's either that or Albion. I think Albion gets us a draw, and then we can get Quem anyways, so I think we get Albion. And then this also helps us play through Ash Blossom, technically. And then we can go main phase, Albion effect, sending Albaz. So it helps us play it through Ash Blossom because we also get to send the Albaz here, right? So let's just do also Ash. Why not? So Droll Imperm Ash. That sounds like a fun combination. So put it to the bottom, and then draw a Cartesia. Inconsequential. And then we get drolled. Okay. And then we can special summon Cartesia since we don't control him, since we control an Albaz in graveyard. And once again, we go branded fusion now, and this will get ashed, so that's totally fine. And even if I don't have the thrust, this plays their Ash anyways, right? Because I have the Renbrum plus Albaz already, which is why I love Fulos as a high spirits target, because like with Shrouded, it really like pairs really well into like a end board through Fulos really easily. And but that at this point we can just go thrust, right? Like That's why, like, Ashe is really... That's why you need to run Thrust, in my opinion, because you can just, like, play through, like, triple hand trap like this, and then you can just go Cartesia effect to summon out if you want. I don't think that's the play, though. I think what you want to do is... Or no, we already did that, so we can't. Yeah, we need the discard anyway. So we can set this, pass to our opponent, let them potentially play the game, right? Like, don't let them imperm you. I mean, they can in draw phase anyway, but, you know, hopefully not. You let them play the game. They summon, like, a monster out or something like that. Go Cartesia effect, diffuse off. Actually, no. Actually, in this kind of board, it's really complicated. I think what you want to do, if you can, where, like, because like, you're either putting your all into the lock, or you're playing kind of a simple game. Because what you can do, I think actually on this kind of end board, like, because you just, like, lose to a droplet if you play into the lock, which I don't like, but you don't if you just, like, piece out your board. So what you could do here is, like, let your opponent play the game and then go Rundbrum, Albaz effect, Albaz discard, and then hopefully it's like a light or something, right? Or just like a monster that from the extra deck. Let's just simple enough make a Mirror Jade, because that's pretty common in this situation. This still gives us Fusion Dupe, which can then go Fusion Dupe, dupe the branded fusion, and then send Albaz again, and, you know, really just depends here what we want. It has to be a light, so it's probably just the Lubellion. And then we can summon out the Albion, the misprint Albion this time. And then we can go for Albion effect, and Albion here can make like a Chaos Star Source really easily, so we can banish the Albaz plus the Lubellion to keep one Albaz in graveyard. And then we can make a Chaos Star Source, which pops 2. And then we still have the banish off of, or sorry, well, we already used the banish off of Mirror Jade, but in theory, right? That's what this was supposed to be, get banished off of Mirror Jade with the Rundbrum. Or sorry, actually no, we don't have the banish with the Mirror Jade. So yeah, no, we still have the banish with the Mirror Jade. Banish another card since we just fused this monster off. So that's 2 removals that we got on our opponent, and then we have Chaos Star Source, which is another 2 cards that we're removing, and then also we have Cartesia to fuse off your Albion for follow-up with the Chaos Star Source to then make a Stapelia, which is why I love Stapelia. Like, it's either this or... This is also a Lad line, so if you have Light and Darkness Dragon Lord, this is even better here, right? And we just played through triple hand trap and ended on Mirror Jade, Stapelia plus Light and Darkness Dragon Lord. Or sorry, Chaos Star Source plus Mirror Jade and Light and Darkness Dragon Lord or Stapelia. It's kind of crazy at this unboard. Alright, last combo test hand for the video, once again. Alright, let's get into this. Aluber, High Spirits, Fall of Albaz, Deployment, Quem, Cartesia. Alright, so how do we play this out? This is a pretty standard hand, honestly. But let's just say we have like 1 Quem, so we have to get back to deck or something. I don't know. We're still on 2 Quem technically for this build, but... Alright, so, as always, draw phase, play around Droll. What hand traps are we going to play around today? Why not Ash Fua? That sounds pretty good. Ash Fua sounds pretty good. Alright, so, play around Ash Fua, High Spirits, reveal Albaz, sending the Titaniclad, wherever my Titaniclad exists. And then... we are going to have to get... really just depends at this point. We have Albaz in hand, so I think it's just like, do we want to play into Fua more or search the Cartesia, or do we want to go for the Shrouded? I mean, Shrouded... I mean, I don't know. Kit also searches back, I mean, spins back the Quem too, which is not bad, but I don't think, like, under Fua, like, that really matters. So I guess we'll just go for the Cartesia and try to, like, maybe play around Fua a little bit more. So... we can just go special summon. I mean, it just depends, right? Because I guess we would search Albaz in that case, right? Or no, we already have Albaz. So... it could just be Shrouded? I guess, yeah. really tough here, honestly. It's either that or Kit. I feel like Kit's actually probably the best thing here. But then it's like, I don't have a good desk card, so... Yeah, we'll just go for Shrouded, and then... At this point... What's like... I guess I'm playing more into Fuelos at that point, so if I kind of like the play where I search Cartesia, frankly, because, like, I play less into Fuelos. Yeah, I kind of like that play anyway. Because it also sets me up with Titanclad nicely. So yeah, we can just go Cartesia, they chain Fuelos. It's like, okay, well, thank God I did that. And then I go normal summon Aluber, then effect to go for Branded Fusion. You could also potentially just go for the Branded in red and then pass on that and not give him any cards, frankly. That's also something. Right? Because then we just go for Branded in red. And then go and set the Branded red and go end phase Titanclad, search out the Albaz to hand. And this is your end board, so you know your opponent's starting on 5 cards, but you still have basically lock, right? You can just go Cartesia effect on your opponent's turn once they've normal summoned a monster or something, and so you aren't playing into like Imperm or something. Go to Grand Guignol, go Grand Guignol effect, and then Grand Guignol can send out the Ido, and then you can go Chainlink 1 red, target the Aluber to like bait them or something. And then add Aluber, fuse off Quem, Albaz, so that you have follow-up with the Aluber, and then you can go out to Sanctifier. And then you can go Sanctifier, Chainlink 1, target Ido, and then target the Cartesia. And there you go. You won the game, and that was the final combo of this video. So I do hope you guys enjoyed this, and we'll be seeing you guys later. So yeah, that was another fun video of just a bunch of test hands for Branded. I hope you guys learned something like this, or from this, and if you guys want to see more videos like this, let me know. We're going to do a much more concise, long combo guide, but I want it to be ready for Burst Protocol, because obviously the new support is coming out, so like, there's a bunch of new combos that you guys are going to have to know, so once we get there, we'll get there, but I do appreciate it, guys. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Subscribe today, I'll leave 150 likes, and we'll just do another video like this, another hour if you guys want to see that. And, or, yeah, no, so with that being said, we'll be seeing you guys later. Have a good day. Love you guys. Subscribe today. Click the join button. Also, check out my branded spreadsheet on my website if you guys want to help support the channel. And get a great resource that has over 130 branded combos on it. It'll be by 200. It'll be at 200 by burst, so get it now. All right, we'll be seeing you guys later. Bye now. Misprint Sanctifier says bye. Give me 1 second. Yeah, this combo is kind of insane for main phase 3. Just to basically end on the Fallen and the Virtuous, right? On top of the board that you already had. Whose spreadsheet this? This is mine. You can find it on metagamesgx.com. If you want to pick it up and help support the channel, there's a bunch of great combos on it. Only pick it up if you want to help support the channel, guys. I have a bunch of free content on my channel, guys. Don't ever want to feel like I'm paywalling anybody, but yeah. Like, I just uploaded, like, 3 videos showcasing this, right? So you can either check out the videos, or if you want to help support the channel, get, like, one collected source, plus, like, my meta guides, all my deck lists in one place. It's a great spreadsheet for that. Once again, it helps us support, helps you, you are helping support, you know, us making great content. So, yeah, so let's go over the last combo here. Greetings from Germany. What's up, Sharper Ink? Also, since we have 91 people here, well, I guess that'll take away, but, yeah, so this is the 1-card Ecclesia combo, which is kind of cool, right? Like, this is kind of cool that Ecclesia is a starter. Now, you need 2 discards, but, like, hey, if you draw Ecclesia, you don't just die now. Right, because then you summon out, you go Ecclesia, summon out, or Fallen White, summon out Ecclesia. And you could also summon Golden Sword Soul here off of that. I should